My name is Kim Murdoch and you're watching Arts Hub Online. So today's craft is really fun. It is using handles from paper grocery bags and it creates a tapestry. And so I'm going to show you how to make this whole thing. It involves coloring and drawing and also weaving a little bit, putting them together sort of like a carpet. That's where the tapestry part comes in. We're going to use a hole puncher and yarn and different things just to give it some decoration. And also so that you can hang it up. So this is something that you can hang up on a doorknob or just somewhere in your home that's where you want to see something that cheers you up. So it's really cute, it's really pretty. You can make these over and over again. I know you guys probably have a lot of paper bags at home just like we do, and you're going to need several of them, and it's a great way to reduce, recycle, and in this case, reuse. So looking forward to it. It's just a moment. When we come back, I'll tell you exactly what kind of supplies you need. Alright guys, so I've counted these out and you need 16 of these. That means 8 paper bags. So just pull them off gently. Sometimes they tear a little bit. If you get little fragments like this, just pull them off gently with your fingers. You can recycle those. Go ahead and grab 16 of these things. Let me tell you what else you're going to need. So you do need yarn for this. Of course, if you don't have yarn, you could use something else, maybe some colorful pieces of fabric or something else, but I have some yarn. In this case, I did yellow and I have red today. Also, you're going to need a pair of scissors and a hole puncher. Hole puncher is going to make this a lot easier for you when it's time to put the yarn on. It's not totally necessary, but it's really helpful. I hope you have a hole puncher. You definitely want to have some glue and some clear tape today. Those are very helpful. And you might even want to have some masking tape handy. I'm a real big fan of masking tape in general to put on the back of things to make them extra sturdy. So if you have masking tape, we may not use it, but if we need it, it's a good thing to have on hand. Also, I have a Sharpie, which I think is a really wise choice for today. It's going to help you draw these cool designs. I also have a pencil, and of course I have my markers. So those are the supplies we need. And in just a moment, when we come back, I'm going to show you what the first step is. We're going to go ahead and have some fun today. Are you ready? I'm ready too. So the first step, what is it? Well, the first step is easy. It is taking 6 of these. So here I have 5. I need one more. And I am making these rainbow colored. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. You can make these absolutely any color you want. I'm going to go ahead and do another rainbow one. And if you wanted to do this for any type of holiday, it could be if you have red, white, and blue, for example. I don't think there's a white marker out there, but you may want to try using paint instead. If you do use paint, just let it dry totally before you move on to the next step. In this case, I'm going to do markers and I'm going to do rainbow. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my handle and I'm just going to kind of try to flatten it, kind of. Sometimes they're bent. I mean, they are bent when they're on the bag. Just kind of flatten it as much as you can. You'll notice that one side has a seam and the other side does not. The seam is where they folded it and glued it together. You want the seam to be down on the table. So like I said, I'm going to start with red. So I'm just going to pull out my red markers here. And whoops, that one went flying, but that's okay. I'm going to take my red marker and I'm just going to color this in. So what I want to show you is that marker shows up really well on brown paper bags. It's a really cool thing. That makes the bag really versatile and great to use as a craft material. And like I said earlier, it's a great way to recycle. Not only recycle, but reuse. So you're doing something different than originally intended with this. In this case, we're making art. But they're wonderful for craft projects. So they are great. Go to the grocery store and they say, would you like paper or plastic? You should always say you want paper. And even if you don't use it, you can recycle it and you know that it won't go into the landfill. It will disintegrate and not hurt the environment. So those are good things, in my opinion. I hope you feel that way too. Alright, so I'm not going to color every single one of these in front of you. I just wanted to show you that I've colored this red. It's kind of damp right now. It's getting on my fingers. It's not a big deal. It'll wash off. I'm going to let that dry and I'm going to move on to my next one. So I'm going to color these off camera, but when I come back I'll show you how they look. So this would be a good time for you to be doing the same thing, and I'll see you in just a few minutes. Alrighty, so I am back. I have colored these in. I wanted to show you. I've got the colors of the rainbow here. I have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. So these are going to be the pieces in our tapestry that are vertical, and those are called warp. That is a weaving term. The ones that go horizontally, the ones we're going to do with Sharpie, are called weft. And so those are some weaving terms that I'll be referring to later in the video. So I just wanted you to hear those and know what they were. So now that we have those done, we've done our warp, now we're going to do our weft. And so what I'm going to recommend is that you do all of these, and all of these that remain in different shapes and designs. Now I wanted to point out to you that there are 6 colors in the rainbow, and so that gives us room at the top for 6 letters, and certain words have 6 letters. A word like family, for example, has 6 letters. But also, how about the word summer? Because today, June 20th, is the first day of summer. And so I thought that would be a really fun word to put on top of our tapestry today. But you can put any words you want. So anyway, because I'm going to make this a summer tapestry, I'm going to put a bunch of designs on here that remind me of summer. So things perhaps like the sun on some, and others with like water, maybe others like some little sailboats or some ice cream cones. It's really fun. It kind of is a good challenge to think about what sort of things you want to put on here and what the theme of your tapestry is. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to do the first one so you can see, just like I did with the others, and then I'll go off camera to finish them and come back to show you what the next steps are. So I'm going to take my Sharpie. Now if you feel more comfortable drawing with a pencil, that is fine, but it won't be dark enough. If you do it with a pencil, I want you to go over it with some type of marker, okay? If you feel ready for a Sharpie, however, open that up. And just like we did for the colored pieces, there is a seam, and I just want you to make sure that's on the back, and in this case, facing the table. So I'm going to just do a sun pattern, and it's not supposed to be really complicated. These are supposed to be kind of cool, bold symbols. So whether they're just shapes or designs, or you could even do words, you know, you could do words that are like sun. For example, I'm drawing the sun, but maybe the word could be the sun, you know, over and over again, because it creates a repeating pattern and it just looks cool. So I'm just going to do this one piece here and show you what it looks like. It just takes a moment, and it's fun to do. It's really fun to challenge yourself to think about all the different things that you could do with these patterns. You can do stripes, polka dots, symbols, little drawings. It's not important for these to be perfect. They don't have to be absolutely perfectly neat, because when people look at them, they're not going to be seeing the little tiny details. They're going to see the overall tapestry, and they're not going to say, hey, that sun on the left side has a weird thing, and they won't do that. So don't do that to yourself either. That's my advice as an artist and as a teacher. So I'm almost done here. And there we go. Okay, so I made my little sun pattern. If you can see that, I'm going to hold it up. Hopefully you can see that. And it's just a series of suns. So that is one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do all of these. So I have 9 more to do. It's going to take me a minute or two. Enjoy your time. Enjoy yourself. I'll be back in just a moment and show you how to put it all together. All right, so we are back. So I have been busy making all of my designs. Some are geometric, some are more based on summer, because that's the theme for my tapestry today. I have hearts, I have peace signs, I have smiley faces, sailboats, geometric shapes, things like that. Even this one says art on it over and over again. So if there's a word that's important to you, like maybe you're going to do this for your dad for Father's Day or something like that, you could say dad, 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 dad all across there. And that would definitely make it clear that it was for him, but that's just an idea. You don't have to do that unless you want to. All right, so how do we get started? So you need one more piece, and I said you needed 16 of these. I realized you should have 17, because you have to have one for the very top. This has no color on it, no Sharpie. We're going to use this to anchor our very top. So I'm going to put the ones with the Sharpie aside for now, and I'm going to get out my rainbow colored ones again. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out in order. So this is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. And what I want to try to do is make them about one, they're close together is what I should say. They're not that far apart, but they can, it depends on how tight you want the weave to be. So if you want it to be looser, you can have them farther apart. If you want it to be tighter, you can have them really close together. So this one's tight. You see how you can't see any spaces in between? I think I'll make one that's kind of halfway so that you can see what I'm talking about. So take one of your paper bag handles, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to use a piece of tape. So this is just clear tape, and I'm going to place these on one at a time. You see how I did the red one first? I'm going to tape this on. I'm going to hold it up so you can see. So the top of this is higher than this. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like a T shape. I'm going to do that with each one. And what I want to show you, and I'm just going to do a few of these and then I'm going to move on here, is each one is about the same. Now these handles are almost exactly the same length. You can always trim them later if they're not. The same with at the top. So just do the best you can to keep them about the same, but they don't have to be exact. What I do want you to try to do though is make them the same distance apart. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I'm just sort of putting them about, I don't know, maybe that's a 1/4 of an inch apart. You can do whatever you need, like you could measure with a pencil. Like this happens to be a pencil width apart, so I'll keep my pencil handy. That way when it's time to put on the next one, I can use my pencil and say, yep, that is about right. And then I can put it on there. If you're putting them really close together, then you don't have to measure it with anything. All right, so here I am. That was an extra long piece of tape, so I'm going to put some of that over here for later. So there we go. So as you can see, I have started with my colored ones, and it doesn't matter if they're perfectly straight the entire way up and down. When we add the cross pieces, the weft, it'll help a lot. So other thing I want you to notice, right now these are too long, right? So what I want you to do is take your scissors, and I want you to cut, but do you see how I left a little space on both sides? And that's because what I want you to do is fold those over and put some more tape on there. Now we are doing that so that what we're creating is extra strong. I don't want to make things, I don't want to teach you how to make things that fall apart easily. My students and my campers all know that I'm really into making things that are strong and that last. So this could be something you know, have for a very long time. That's why it makes a great gift. All right, so I folded those over and I taped them down. I used 2 pieces of tape so that they definitely would be staying in place. And you can see already that this is pretty sturdy. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to use our designed pieces with the Sharpie lines, or in this case, the marker lines. Now I wanted to mention, if you wanted these to be colored like these, that's fine. You can do whatever you like. It's gonna look great. I just think personally that these bold Sharpie lines in contrast to the colored solid pieces just look really neat together. So it is completely up to you which pieces you do in which order. I think I'm going to start with the sun in mine. And so I'm going to turn this way so you can see it, and I'll hold it up as soon as I'm done. So if you've done any weaving at school, any weaving anywhere, you probably know that you just kind of go under and over and under and over until you get to the other side. And I'll just hold this up. You see how I went under and over and under and over like that? And it's also too long on the ends, and that's something we're going to deal with in a few minutes as well. But first I want to make sure it's secured in place. So for the rest of this project, the tape is going to go on the back. So you're going to be working on it with the colored side up, and you're going to be flipping it over to put the tape on. So I flipped it over. I'm going to make sure this is exactly where I want it to be, and I'm going to use my tape. Now, like I said, I'm using clear tape, but if you wanted to switch over to masking tape, which is this thick, heavy tape, that would be fine. And that's because this is on the back. And so if it's on the back, it's no big deal. There we go. All right, so I have taped that in place. And I'm going to take my scissors now. And I am going to cut this off. Now you may decide you want to have some of it sticking out the end. Now these I cut right in line. If you like the way this looks sticking out on the end, you can do that. You can do it at first and decide later if that's something you want to stick with or if something you need to trim later. So you decide. It can be whatever you like. I'm going to leave it like that for now. These little extra bits and pieces, you can save them if you want to or recycle them. I'm going to put them in a pile right over there. So now it's time to move on. And so I'm going to go now to one of my geometric shapes. So I think I'll do this one. So here it is, same thing. The only thing I want to say is that if you started under on the first one, you should start over on the second one and alternate. So in my, I almost said drawing, in my weaving, you see how it starts underneath? So for this second one, I'm going to start on top. But then I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to go over and under until I get to the other side. And I'm going to push it through. And you can see how it looks. It looks pretty good. So I'm going to make sure it's where I want it to be. And then I'm going to flip it over gently. Hold it in place gently. And I'm going to start using my tape to secure it. So I mentioned that I am making this one a little different because I wanted you to see how they don't have to be exactly the same. I am leaving spaces in this one. Whoops. So you'll be able to see those in just a moment, and then I hold this up. So you can see how there's little spaces in between there. Maybe you'll see it more easily up here if I compare it. So you can see how it's going to be a little bit different. And that's okay. That's what we want. So I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to do this off camera again. I don't want you to have to watch every single detail of what I'm doing, but you should be working on this at home. In a few minutes when I come back, we will look at what I have and we'll talk about how to do the next steps. Okay, so here we go. So this is what it looks like. Now this one is bigger because remember I left the spaces in between. You can see it's the same amount of stuff. Just look at the difference in size though. So if you like the way this looks, you can do it either way. Whatever you like is fine. What we're going to do now is talk about adding the yarn and then the words, and then we'll be all done. So I think this is pretty cute. I really enjoy this craft, and it's sort of relaxing to weave these together. And what's nice about it is if you feel like you made a mistake, you can always just easily take the tape off and adjust it. It's real easy to work with, so I hope that worked for you too. All right, so now it's time to use our hole puncher. And so looking at this example, you can see there's a hole here, and that's so we can hang this yarn on it. But also we need some holes in the bottom. And so before we do that, I should say it's time to really look at this and ask yourself if it needs a haircut. And by haircut, I mean just does it need to be trimmed. Like if these things are really not level, you can just take your scissors and just try to make them about the same. They don't have to be exact, but it's nice if they are relatively the same. So I'm just trimming them a little bit. And I don't know why, but I always call trimming paper or giving it a haircut. I don't know why, it's a silly joke. But anyway, so I've trimmed the bottom. I feel like the sides are relatively good. I might need to do a little trim right here. Sometimes you just have to look again and again until you see it, till it stands out to you. All right, so I'm going to take my hole puncher. Now, sometimes kids may have a difficult time poking a hole through this because this is folded paper. Now, you might need your parents' help for this, but if you have strong hands and you're feeling up to it, you're going to put a hole like this. You see how it took me 2 hands? So you're just going to put a hole across the bottom in each one like we mentioned. Okay. You can see that on the whiteboard. The holes are right there. And I'm going to put a hole here and here. Okay? And so I'm going to do that right now on both sides. Now when you're poking these holes, it's important to put them right in the middle of the piece of paper. If it's too close to the edge, it'll be fragile, it'll break really easily, it'll tear, it'll fall down, so we don't want that. All right, so we've got the holes poked. It's now time to use the yarn. Now in some cases, you may want to use the glue stick. I should mention that, I just remembered. So we did a lot of taping. If you did as much as I did, I don't need any glue today, but sometimes if you don't have enough tape on the back, you may want to glue these edges down. These ones on the end here may not be as secure as you want them to be. And that's what the glue would be for, if you need that. If you don't need it, that's fine. All right, so here we go. So these are sort of like tassels, and just to achieve that, you don't even have to tie a knot. You just sort of make them a couple of pieces of yarn thick. So I'm going to take a long piece of yarn, and I don't know how long you want it to be. This looks like it's about 2 feet long, maybe a little longer. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to snip it, and then I'm just going to fold that in half again. And so what that gives me is I have 2 pieces of yarn that I fold in half, and it makes it 4 pieces thick. And I'm going to take the ends, and I did not cut them again, I just folded them. Now if you have lots of different colors of yarn, it would be cool if you had all these colors of yarn. I just thought of that, but if you don't, that's fine too. What I'm doing is I'm pushing the yarn through the hole here, and it creates a loop. So I just want to hold this up so you can see what I'm talking about. You see how I pushed it through and created this loop? Then I'm just going to pull my other pieces through that loop and have them hang down. And what that does is it looks like a little tassel. Now this is almost like a real haircut, but if you want to make them shorter, just give them a trim. You can trim them at the very end. I recommend that actually. That's how I got this sort of tapered look. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. It's going to take me a minute or two. I hope you guys are doing the same thing. Just try to make them about the same length. Remember how I said it was about 2 feet long? This might be a little longer. It's okay. I'm going to work on that for a few minutes, and when we come back, I'll show you the very last steps. Okay, so I've added my yarn. I gave it a nice little haircut, and it's looking pretty great. I just want to keep showing you how these are similar but different. And now it's time to work on the top. So I did 1 piece of yarn up here, but if you want to do something different, like if you wanted to have 3 pieces and braid them together, if you wanted to have something else up there, it could be a pipe cleaner, it could be a shoestring, it could be something else entirely. You don't have to use yarn. And you can also make it as long as you want. So that's another thing. I did not make these very long because I thought that it would be a good idea for them not to be too long. So there's a couple ways to do this. You see how I have a rather long piece of yarn here. I can either just go up and come down like this, or I can go through the other side, which I think I will do today. So I have my yarn going behind my tapestry. You see what I'm saying? It's going behind. And then I'm going to just come up here, and I'm going to tie a knot. Now, if you have a hard time tying a knot, definitely ask your parents for help. You do need a knot on the top of this so that it won't fall off. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a little string on the top just for fun. I like the way that looks. It's cute. Now, if you wanted to make more tassels, you see how this one's longer? I didn't do it on this one either, but if you wanted to have more tassels on here, you could add tassels wherever you want to. So the last thing to do is add the words. And you don't have to add words, but I think it's just a really nice way to share a message with someone that you love, or just to remind yourself of certain things. Like this one says family, I'm going to write summer on here. But if there's another word you want to write, like I said, if there's something else that's important to you, you can certainly do that. Now this I am going to do with a Sharpie. You can do it with a pencil if you need to. But again, if you do it with a pencil, I want you to go over it with a marker so that it really is bold and stands out. So I'm just going to very carefully write my letters on the top here. And I'm making them not super thick, but I really want them to be nice and visible. So I am making them kind of on the thick side by going over my letters a few times. Now, if by some chance you were to think you made a mistake, like spell something wrong or do it wrong, what's wonderful is you can just grab another one of these, color it, and glue it on top like a patch, and then write the letter on top of that again. If you need to do that, that is a great way to fix something, and it means that that's another reason why there's no mistakes in art, right? So because you're going to be a creative problem solver, if you feel like you made a mistake, you can just turn it into something else or fix it. All right, friends, so I have written summer on here, S-U-M-M-E-R, and I think it looks pretty great. Looks like something cheerful to hang up. Maybe I'll put it in our kitchen. Maybe I'll put it in the hallway. It's just a really great thing to make. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. In just a couple minutes, I'm going to show you what we're going to be making next week. It's really, really cool. I hope you are looking forward to that too. Voila, friends. This is next week's project. I have not made one of these in my camps in a long time, but this is one of my favorite things. This is a mobile, and what it does is it hangs from something, and in this case it could hang from the ceiling or it could hang from a hook. It's something that is just decorative, and it moves, and it's got a lot of cool things going on. And really, it's very simple. This is a hanger, a metal hanger from the dry cleaner, so it's kind of a soft metal. It's not really hard. It's easily bendable. These are circles that I have cut out of the cereal boxes and covered with construction paper. And I just use lids like this of different sizes to create the circles. And then I use construction paper to create designs on them. Some of the designs, as you can see, go off the edge. There are so many ways to be creative with this. It's so much fun. If you have a theme, this one looks a little bit like planets to me. That was kind of an accident, but it's really neat. And if you have a theme in mind, like if you wanted it to be under the sea, for example, these could be all fish or all different things under the ocean, or if it is from outer space, it could be rocket ships and planets. So it's so much fun. I just really enjoy this, and every day I walk into my studio, I see this hanging up, and I think that is so cool. I'm so glad I made that. So I hope you're ready for this next week. I know I am. I can't wait, and I will see you then, friends.